Thank you for everyone joining for this Momentum with Meenakshi second episode successfully. And today we have someone who I admire, who I look as an inspiration, Mr. Shridhar Sampath, who's got 35 plus years of experience in global leadership, actually. He's executive coach, corporate educator, motivational speaker. He has coached C-suite executives, leaders. Combined market capitalization of the companies is around $300 billion. He guides them on business acumen, leadership, strategy, and finance. An Indian CA, a US CPA, a certified master of leadership challenge, a certified facilitator of the Capsim business simulation. Sridhar's playbook emanates from his past experience in audit, FMCG, oil and gas, spanning over 10 different countries. As a founder and CEO of Motivaluate, as a founder and CEO of Motivaluate, Sridhar is on a mission to help leaders unlock business value, build high performance teams, and create lasting impact. Now, when he's not doing any of it, he plays guitar. Now, what else do you expect from a business from a family which has music roots? So that's what he does. Welcome, sir, to the show. Thank you for coming here.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Meenakshi. Thank you for having me. And thank you for that kind note on LinkedIn as well. That kind of rekindled those amazing memories that we were talking about it just before you started the session. And yes, it is great to see Shiva as well. Shiva, you and Murli and all, we were all sitting and talking about great stuff. So yes, thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure, sir. So to start with, I would ask you to go back to your childhood, and if you can pick up one experience which, in some way, has actually helped you or shaped you in what you are today.
Yeah. I should go back and thank my teachers in school. I studied in a boarding school. I studied in many schools because my dad was in a transferable job in the railways. I studied in a railway boarding school in Missouri, and I'm kind of vertically challenged, as in I'm not the tallest of people in the world. So even in school, obviously, I was much shorter than what I am today, and sports never came easily to me. My brother was a sports person. He was an amazing cricketer, an amazing table tennis player, a hockey captain for his category of students. And obviously, you have sibling rivalry. So I wanted to try my hand at sports, and I just could not do it. And then the school announced a declamation contest, which is something like an elocution contest. I said, hey, why not try something different? So I went off to the library. I picked up a book on old speeches, and I selected the speech delivered by Kaiser Wilhelm II at the start of the First World War. He was addressing the German troops. So I picked up that speech. I loved it. I memorized it. And I was practicing it in my classroom, and all my classmates were out in the playground playing. So I was all alone. I was strutting around the classroom and practicing my speech, when one of my teachers, Mr. Shukla, crossed by, and he saw, what is this fellow doing in the classroom? So he came back inside. He said, what are you doing? I said, I'm practicing for the declamation contest. He said, okay, go ahead, deliver it. And he sat in front of me, and I delivered it, with all the jing bang. And, but I wanted to visualize this. A scrawny, maybe 3 feet, 7 inches kid, thin as hell, ears protruding out, trying to behave as if he is Kaiser Wilhelm II. I mean, how is it going to sound? So Mr. Shukla watched the whole thing, and then he said, I have a suggestion for you. I said, yes, sir, what would you say? And he said, why didn't you take up a nice poetry by William Wordsworth and deliver that? And that hurt my ego. Here I was thinking I was Kaiser Wilhelm II, and Mr. Shukla is asking me to recite a poem. a poem to in the declamation contest. But then, teachers, you can't refuse them. So I said, okay, sir, I'll do it. I went and he helped me select The Solitary Reaper by William Wordsworth. I practiced it. I delivered it on my school contest, and I was in 7th standard, so about 12 years old. And I won the first place. And I walked away from there thinking, gosh, if it were not for Mr. Shukla, I wouldn't have won it. Now, Mr. Shukla is the one who planted that, kind of encouraged me on that journey, planted that seed of trying to find the apt message that goes not just with the audience, but also with the purpose and with the person. A lesson that I never forgot. So I've always, kept that lesson with me. And I'm sure, it has benefited me in many ways, to the extent that now, as a professional speaker, over the last 20 years, I've spoken to and probably taught, trained, coached more than 60,000 people. In this last year, in the first 6 months of 2026 alone, 2,300 and something people is what I've worked with. If there is one event and one person that I want to acknowledge this for, is Mr. Shukla and his advice to me to select what at that time I thought to be a dumb, stupid poem, but now I know was what enabled me to do it. So he encouraged me, and I'm just looking at it. He planted the seed, he encouraged me. I went on, I did not realize it. I established a name for myself in school, much apart from my brother, who obviously, as I said before, illustrious in sports and in academics. And, when you're in the teenage years of your life, identity becomes a very important factor. I did not know at that time that identity would carry forward to be my profession in the future. But yes, if there's one event and one person, it is that event.
Thank you, sir. I picked up two things. One, of course, you said you are vertically challenged. I doubt, because you're not, the kind of height that you are reaching in life, there is no challenge in that, actually. So vertical challenge is not there in terms of what you are able to achieve, actually. Second,
Well, I'm proud it has worked out that way. That's all.
But the second point I picked up, which, of course, the apt message, which you said, which Shukla sir helped you to deliver. In fact, I think as a coach, probably he is the best coach for you, that you are able to coach others in identifying what is the best for them to pick up and do. So that's a very kind of apt story also. But yeah, thank you for that story.
Thank you.
Okay, now that the second question that I want to put across you is that you have actually you are in a very stable position. You are actually in a well-paid job, and you're kind of flying to different countries, managing multiple regions. It's a position that everyone would envy. People would love to have, actually. And that position you wanted to leave, and you wanted to start something on your own. My question is, one, what actually pushed you to do that? What kind of motivation worked at that point of time for you to take the challenge, come out and start something? Two, today, of course, you are a very successful coach. You're established yourself as a high flying leadership coach and all. But in the initial period, I'm sure there would have been a lot of challenges. And if you can give some ideas for people who actually want to take that leap, how that journey is going to be and what they need to get the momentum.
Now, I think the best person to answer that question should be my wife. Okay, because my wife and my family are the ones who probably face the brunt of my what I'd like to call it as courage, but then we all know that there's a very thin line between courage and stupidity, right? And others may call, are you crazy? And this is what happened. In fact, I remember somebody saying this, asking me this question in 2010 when I started, because that was the peak of the global financial crisis. And the question that the gentleman asked me was, are you sure this is the right timing for this? And I said, I don't know what is the right time to start something. So, see, why do people struggle to take that step? I'm going to answer the second part first. It's probably primarily because of the fear of failure. It's probably the fear of being judged, the fear of being ridiculed if something does not go well, especially when you are extremely successful already. People will say, why would you knock that off the pedestal, knock yourself off the pedestal and try to do something like this? So, yes, I know that right from childhood, I've been a bit of a risk taker. I've done all kinds of nonsensical things in school and college, things that I'm not very proud of now, but I shouldn't have done it, but I've done it because I've been that kind of person. I've always pushed the boundary. So probably I wanted to push the boundary of what I was doing at the corporate world. And just to give you a quick snapshot, when I decided to move to and start my own consulting firm, I was the Eastern Hemisphere financial controller of a very large multinational oil and gas, Russian oil and gas company. I was, as you rightly said, traveling around different places. But before that, I was at Baker Hughes. And while I was in Baker Hughes, I took up a risky project to do SAP in transformation of some locations as a functional expert. Now, I had no experience of doing it, so I jumped into it. One more, that I told you, right, that the thin line between courage and stupidity. So I jumped straight into it. The first exercise went off was an abject failure. But what I enjoyed in that whole journey was when I had to teach and train the new users on how to use the new system. And I realized that I enjoyed the process of training them, teaching them, enabling them to do something different that they were never, ever done before, right? And that kind of laid the foundation. So I was just asking myself, if I can do this, why can't I reach more people? Why can't I touch more lives? Why do I have to just work with a small team of 4 or 5 people? Why can't I, scale up that whole process of getting others to do something different? Now, coming back to the decision on jumping into this, I don't think it was that big a leap, if I may answer that. It wasn't a big leap. One of the things that we all do when we articulate this kind of a shift from corporate, salaried, successful roles to an uncharted consulting, training, coaching kind of role is that we articulate it saying, wow, it's a big leap of faith. How about we say that it is quite a few small steps of faith, which then build up to become a leap of faith when others do not know the context. And that is what I would like to share with people. It's not a big leap of faith. It is many small steps. So how about starting small, experiment, take risks, celebrate, build, experiment, take risks, celebrate, build, fall, step down, climb back up. And that's how these things are built. So I think just like all of us would have experienced in our own childhood, and as some of us as parents, how you encourage a child to learn how to walk. The child, even an athlete's child, doesn't start running a 100 meters race from the time it's born. Even an athlete's child has to first learn how to crawl, to walk, and then balance itself and maybe fall a couple of times before it gains the confidence to walk by itself. And then nobody can catch it after that. Right? So I would like to believe that all of us can take on that courage to do it, as long as we know that it is many small little steps, small little leaps of courage and faith, and you build that courage as you go along. Now, does it mean that it's all going to be hunky-dory and everything is going to be a straight line towards success? No. There are going to be pitfalls, there are going to be challenges, there are going to be confusions, like we faced as well. There was a time in this 16-year journey that I've been through now, I think at the end of year 5 or 6, when it came to a point where my wife and I were having an honest to God conversation one night saying, what do we do? Where do we go from here? Do we shut this down? And I think also what happens is there is the help and support that you get from people around you. So my wife, I remember telling me this, look, it's not that you have taken all this 5 years and 6 years and we have all struggled through this for nothing. Now that you have started it, better go and finish it. I'll give you whatever support you need. Right. And that one word of support, one phrase of support, one sentence of support is all that it takes to recharge batteries and go for it. So I'm not saying that it's going to be extremely easy, but all I say is that it's small little steps, finding the right people to encourage you, surrounding yourself by the right ecosystem, the right mentors, the right coaches, and things work out. And that's why I believe that we need to learn how to fail fast, and we should not stop.
That's a great point, actually. In fact, I'm just thinking that, it's not just you have to start something on your own. Even if you are continuing in your own, corporate journey, you want to grow, you're supposed to take these kind of steps. You're supposed to branch out and try something, fail there, and then learn, have someone to support you, get some coaches, get someone to mentor you, and then that's the only way you can grow. So whichever line it is, whether you want to start something new or you want to grow in whatever you're doing already, that I think is a great piece of advice for everyone to pick up and say, build something, fail, learn, go back and again build. That's a good advice. In fact, probably we have to keep this question again for a separate podcast. That's what I saw a message from your better half or best half.
Yes, the bestest half.
So I think the other question it was in my mind, which is already answered by you, is that what would be the advice for people who are hesitant, who stuck but hesitant to take the risk? But I think it's already been answered by your I'll say the formula that you gave: build something, try, fail, learn, go back again, build. So that's sufficient to answer that question also. So let me go to a question that most of us as CAs, we all struggle. And one aspect is that when we are talking to business leaders, many times we are actually caught in our technical terms, and we are not able to communicate exactly what they wanted. So now you have been coaching different people. You have been coaching business leaders. You also, from a CA background, you also was a CFO at one point of time. So how did you bridge that gap, or what we need to do to bridge that gap?
I think this is where Toastmaster kicks in, right? Storytelling. How do you tell effective stories? Now, every story has, just like my public speaking, my professional speaking coach and guru, Steve Seibold, says this was a formula that Bill Gove had created. He said, every story has a problem, a premise, and a payoff.
Oh.
Right? So he said, learn to tell great stories. And I've used that in my growth as a finance professional. How do you tell the stories of the numbers that create the picture of the business? And I learned something deeper. Learn to tell the story not just of the numbers, but the people behind the numbers. And that makes a big difference. To give you a simple example, I'm sure in your profession and in your business that you do, you've heard the term DSO, day sales outstanding, or receivables, average receivables days, or whatever you call it. And I remember this when I was delivering a presentation, a business plan presentation in Italy, when I was working in Egypt, but I had traveled to Italy to present the Egypt business plan. And we had just come out of a project where we had dramatically reduced the DSOs of our company that generated a lot of cash flow. And I was explaining that. I realized that the story was not about the numbers dropping. It's about that young Muhammad whom we hired, who made it a point with great diligence to go to our clients' offices every day, sit in front of the people who are processing the invoices, help them facilitate the whole transaction and move it forward. That enabled us to reduce the DSOs from 123 days to 63 days, that generated $3 million in cash, and so on and so forth, right? And I think learning how to tell these stories effectively, humanizing them, is probably what makes, what enables us, any finance professional, to start looking at what is happening behind the business, because that is where the secret lies. And again, I credit that whole technique to my first boss. I came to Dubai in 1991 on a fantastic salary of 2,500 dirhams as the accountant in a trading business, right? And I'm sure all of us, you included, you probably landed up in Bahrain or wherever it is first. And I was blessed that I had a mentor who taught me what goes on behind the scenes. The boss of the company, he was also a chartered accountant. I got extremely upset with him when he moved me from my accounting role. You know, the first 6 months I was doing accounting, reporting, and I was speeding up the close process and everything. And suddenly when I just thought that I was doing very well and I get a promotion, he moves me from there to warehouse operations. Now, in which world, you tell me, does moving from the head office to warehouse sound like a promotion? In nobody's world does it sound like a promotion.
Yeah.
And that's what mentors do, right? Sometimes they may not explain the logic behind what they're doing, but they make it a point to put you through the grind and help you see what's happening behind the business so that you become a better business executive, a better business coach. And even now, after, so we're now in 35 years, even now, believe me, that gentleman has become a multimillionaire, sold his business. Whenever he travels to Dubai, we have the group of us who are working with him have kind of an alumni meet, and we go and have a meal at some, Mami's Illam or Vasant Bhavan or wherever, and just laugh about those times. And to me, those are the things, the story behind the business. Where are the numbers coming from? It's not the numbers. So to be an effective bridge between the operations, the finance, and the numbers and the stakeholders, I think the skill of telling effective stories is what makes the big difference. And I believe that's what helped me help my superiors get attracted towards what I was doing. They said, hey, this guy presents it better than others, so let's put him out there in front of audiences so that our business plans can sell better. Ideas can hit the targeted audience better. And that's what has helped. So I'll thank Toastmasters, I'll thank my initial mentors for pushing me behind the scenes and helping me see the story behind the numbers.
In fact, that's a good thing. But I pick up one more point from what you said, actually. One is the story is, of course, very important. But you said to identify the person behind when you bring the story, you bring the person in front. So that actually also means that you have to be a very good person on your own to see and appreciate the other person's efforts. So just a story telling is one thing, but understanding, having empathy and looking at people, so that makes, so you can be a good storyteller only when you are a good person.
Thank you.
Isn't it?
I'm not too sure about that part, whether I'm a good person yet, but now that you say it, I think, yes, I think one of the things that I think most of us, Meenakshi, most of us normal people, we are able to see the goodness in people, right? Some of us do it better than the others. Some of us do it less than the others, but I think all of us see the goodness. Maybe at that time, when I was telling the story, I was also building a career, so I had a vested interest in it, probably also. What I'm telling you is that thank you for the compliment. At the same time, I don't think I would take full credit because maybe I had a vested interest in that whole thing. But I know that is what I think that what works very well. That's all.
But see, that's where the improvement happens, isn't it? It all starts with the vested interest. We are all selfish. We want to do something for our own, and then over a period, actually, we realize that it doesn't really matter, and then we do it anyhow. for the goodness. So that's the, that's where the effort comes in. So I pick up the 3 points you said: problem, premise, and payoff. That's a very good point for making stories. And like especially for finance people, instead of just saying that sales has grown by so and so percentage, if you can identify people who have put more effort in when bringing that kind of a sale, that will also bridge a gap between the sales
So,
and finance. That's what I'm picking up from your lesson. Thank you very much for that.
welcome.
Okay, and one question I want to ask you again, because you have been coaching leaders in different spectrum, different fields of expertise and different business arenas. Is there one story that uh, is common across the different fields and different levels of expertise and whatever? As a human, is there one story that can connect each of them and something that we can all learn from that story? If there is anything that you can share.
Okay. So, one of the things I've learned in leadership is that the best leaders are the best learners. And since Siva is on the call as well, he'll probably relate to this story. Long ago, when we were pitching for some work with Shiva's company at that time, Nomac, we had done some groundwork, and I had to present back the results of the research. But then during the research, one message came through very strongly, which was that the then CEO of Nomac, Mr. Julio, the people were saying that, his management style is not going to work any further. His management style is not going to work for any further, because he was a hard-nosed, he knew how to run his business, and he was building a business, so he probably didn't have much time. He didn't suffer fools. He was probably very assertive and probably a bit aggressive at times. So before we made the presentation to the board, I had sent an email to Mr. Julio saying, "Sir, I want to talk to you separately for a few minutes before the presentation." And I remember this, we'd gone, the meeting was in Fairmont in Dubai. We went up, I think it was the 23rd, 24th floor or the 20th floor or something. He was in the meeting, he came out and he sat, and both of us sat on a small little love seat. Okay, so practically there is maybe a foot gap between him and I could actually smell his breath, right? So that's how close we were sitting. And I was showing him what I'm going to present. And then I paused at the end of it. I said, "But there's one thing that I need to tell you, Mr. Julio." He said, "What?" Now, remember, we are pitching as a consultant. The deal is very important to me for my business, and I need to crack it. I need to win it. So I need to have him on my good books. But then something within me told me that I need to also be honest to God about what I'm doing. So I told him, the one message that's coming through is that what got you here in terms of your management style is not going to help you get to the next growth. And I knew that Mr. Julio was a tough guy. I would have expected him, we were so close, he could have probably extended his hand and slapped me as well. He could have probably said, "Get out of my presence." But the next 5 words that he mentioned was what really made me believe that the best leaders are the best learners. He said, "Shridhar, what can we do about it?" And I said, "You leave the rest to us. We'll talk about it." He was probably one of the examples of leaders who are willing to subject themselves to that which they expect others to do, learn along with them, and grow. Right? So to me, in this whole thing, if there's one story that connects everything, is that if you have amazing counterparties, students or whoever, and I was telling you just before we started the meeting of the story of this gentleman who just finished an examination, passed it. When you have the right people in front of you, the energy that is built, is what we call synergy, right? Where the sum of the parts is, the whole is greater than the individual sum of the parts, right? And that's what really makes this whole journey so pleasurable. So yeah, I think having leaders like that who commit themselves to learn, and then you're sitting on the other side and You're not doing much. You're just helping them learn, basically. Uh, Actually, the profession is very easy, Meenakshi. You just sit in front and you ask a few questions and then people learn. But I think the key thing is having those right, great people in front of you who are willing to learn. Yeah. And they then tell you that this profession is worth the time that you put into it. And it makes you feel really proud and stand up tall, taller than what you think you are also physically.
Good point. Bringing back to the height. That is a good connection, actually.
You are the one who pointed it out, so I blame you for it.
Okay, then let's. If there is one advice that I want to come to that question actually, which I thought
Okay.
I will. We will not talk about Gen Zs, but if you want to give one advice to anyone, and
Yeah.
everyone, including myself, for example, uh, that we have to do in our life for us to grow and improve ourselves, what would that be? Of course, you already told about the best leaders are best learners. That's a great point, actually. But more than that, if there is any other point that you want to tell.
The key out uh, even create find out who and give us short and if you could just refresh your screen. There you are. Did you
Yeah,
miss the last few seconds?
I think yes. Sorry.
Okay, so I'll just repeat. So I think the key is to find out who we are. Each one of us has, as I said before, God-given, creator-given strengths. So if we find out who we are and we live life to our fullest potential to make sure that those God-given gifts are harnessed and help others to succeed as well, I think, and we start that early. If you may ask me what is something that I feel I could have done better, maybe I should have trusted my public speaking instincts far earlier than when I did. At the same time, I'm also conscious of the fact that those public speaking instincts mean nothing without the experience and expertise that go along with it, right? So it's a balance. But I think if we can live life to the fullest, chasing our talents and making sure that people are benefited using those talents, I think you're living a fulfilling life anyway. So my advice to anybody out there is go and give it your best shot and trust that you're not here because somebody wanted you to suffer. Trust that you're here because somebody wants you to be successful.
Oh, that's a great point. Because we all, somewhere other things that, everyone is trying to make us suffer. So that's a fantastic point. So one last
Maybe
question.
we just need to think about the Hindi word suffer rather than the English word suffer.
Maybe yes. That's a good one. So I want to ask one last question before we open up for the audience questions, because you have
Yeah.
another appointment you're travel. Probably we'll do one more session where we can have a longer discussion because this is not going to be getting over in a day actually. Why guitar? Why not any other instrument? And you are from
Why
a Carnatic background.
So now you're going back, you're touching on my ego. So when I was very young, um, I grew up, just to let you know, so I grew up in those times when Yadon Ki Barat was very famous. So if you all remember that Yadon Ki Barat song where he's playing the guitar. And as somebody at an impressionable age, I felt that the guitar would be my fastest ticket towards romance. Right. So I wanted to learn how to play the guitar. And even now, my mother says this that I would carry my guitar, and my guitar used to be taller than me, by the way. Right. I would carry my guitar on my shoulder and I would walk around. Now, if I have to go from my home to my guitar teacher's home, and let's say it is a straight line, my pathway would not be a straight line. My pathway would be a curved line so that I can demonstrate that I'm learning the guitar to all the people around our community. Right. And I would learn how to play the guitar. So I developed this insane interest in guitar many years ago. I wanted to learn it. I wanted to master it. I wanted to play it. I wanted to maybe it is that little bit of thing within me that wants to stand up there and be applauded as well. We all have our inner
Exactly.
desires. So that's what I was learning. But what happened was, because my dad was in a transferable job, I would never complete any lesson, any musical lesson with any teacher. When I went to boarding school, I couldn't carry my guitar with me there, and I didn't learn. I did not learn the guitar there. When I came back, when I was studying my college, again I picked up the guitar, and now I found a Carnatic teacher in Hubli, who wasn't actually a Carnatic teacher. He was actually a guitarist who used to sing in bands, but he thought he can teach me Carnatic music on it. So, and that was the time when mandolin Srinivas was becoming extremely famous. So I was thinking, if mandolin Srinivas could do it with the mandolin, why can't I do it with the guitar? Right. Life moved on. I came to Dubai. Again, there was nobody here to teach me the guitar, or probably I didn't explore it. Went to Turkey. I worked in a company where our principals, Panasonic Turkey, there was a gentleman there who owned a guitar. And once he was having a chat with me, he said, "Hey, I have this Fender guitar. It's an old one. I'm planning to sell it because I'm struggling with some financial issues. Would you mind buying it?" And I bought it for $350 straight off. He was sitting in front of me. I said, "Done." $350. I paid him. I picked up the guitar and walked home. Right. So now the guitar is sitting in my home and I still don't know how to play it. And I would always keep it in a place where I could see it and remind myself that this is something that I need to master. And then when my wife Rajni and I were driving through Italy sometime, we heard on one of those cassettes, we heard somebody playing the guitar, and it was amazing. Carnatic music on the guitar. I picked up the cover and saw it was somebody by name Prasanna, Guitar Prasanna. And I said, if I ever learn how to play the guitar, it'll be with Prasanna. Now, life has a way of manifesting what you really want, right? Fast forward another 10 years, I'm back in Dubai. I'm sitting at home. My guitar is still lying idle. And a friend of ours calls me home saying that, "Shridhar, we have why don't you come over? We have a guest and we're just talking about stuff. So why don't you come over?" This is a gentleman by name Sham. I went across to his house, and guess who is sitting there? Guitar person. Now we're sitting and having a chat, and then I don't have the courage to ask him, because what if I fail? What if something doesn't, am I going to ridicule, are people going to ridicule me? We finished talking, I'm about to leave, and then something tells me, no, you can't walk out without asking the question. So I pop back in and I say, "Prasanna, would you be willing to teach a 47-year-old whose fingers don't move as fast as a young kid, but would you be willing to teach him guitar?" He said, "Sure. Why don't you come sit down?" And he put a guitar in front of me and he said, "Play." Like my fingers were frozen. I just could not play. I was stuck. But so why guitar? That's because it's a childhood fantasy that remained where it was until I met somebody like Prasanna, who helped me overcome those fears. I've not yet really mastered it, but I know I've learned enough to enjoy myself with it.
That's more important, actually. In fact, your childhood story of holding a guitar which is taller than you is what actually your life story, because you've always taken up challenges which is bigger than you, and you accomplished it actually. So
Well, thank you for catching that one. Yes, probably. I like that. I like that metaphor. I'm going to use it. Can I borrow it and credit you for it?
of course you can, sir. It's all yours. Now, I think
Thank
that
you.
that brings us towards the end of this session. So I just wrap up and then we'll open up the question. So we have
Sure.
had a fantastic discussions. We discussed about your childhood, stories. I picked up few lessons from each of these things. One is, of course, you talked about the apt message that you got, and the coaching lesson that you got from your teacher, and that how it helped you to shape. So the act message is something that you have used your entire this thing, and the storytelling actually, if you look at the entire episode, if someone is going to watch, they will definitely look at you and say how you are able to bring stories in each of your responses, the way you build the story, even the guitar story, how you met personages. It can be a very simple story, but you built the entire thing. You built from childhood, how it went, and how the guitar was not there, and then how the guitar came, and how it was staying at home. All of it. That makes the importance of storytelling is something that you gave us, not just as a point, but also you gave as a example, the way you spoke. So, and then the premise, and payoff. That's something that that's another point that I picked up.
If
And
you
thank
ever
you.
use that, please do credit Bill Gove, the father of
Sure.
professional speaking in America.
I will say that I heard from my mentor
No,
Sridhar,
that would not be
who
fair. That would not be fair. So
he
Bill
learned from
Gove, it
his
is Bill
mentor.
Gove's.
Yeah. Okay,
Yes, Bill
sure.
Gove's. Yes.
I'll do that. Yeah. So that's it's a fantastic session, sir. I really
Thank
enjoyed
you.
talking to you, and probably we should have one session which will be longer, and then we can discuss so many other things.